Very good morning to all of you. On behalf of Auditing and Assurance Standard Board of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, I welcome you all in today's 154th CP program organized by AASB of ICAI for this council year. As we all are aware that AASB is in process of disseminating the knowledge in the forms of various webinars, various CP programs, various seminars from time to time. And today we are going to cover the gist of as well as the practical approach of three standards in the form of using the work of another auditor, internal auditor as an auditor's export. As we are not going to cover in detail all these three standards, but how to use these three standards in a practical form, in a very gist manner, what a practical approach is to be followed while you are using this SA 600, SA 600 revised, 610 revised and SA 620. And in order to tackle this very important topic, we are having with us very learned and very respected speaker, C. Yagnesh Desai ji. So on behalf of AASB of ICAI, I welcome you, sir, on this AASB platform and the form of 154th CP program organized by AASB. Honorable Chairman, sir, and Vice Chairman, sir, both are stuck up in the meeting. So I'm taking this liberty to start this webinar. And we are having with us very learned from our Chartered Accountant fraternity, C. Hemchand Jain ji, as a moderator. Welcome to you, sir.
Namaskar.
Hemchand Jain ji. We are also having C. Shreya Bansal ji as a moderator. Welcome to you, ma'am, in this AASB webinar.
Thank you.
So without wasting much more time, I request Madam Shreya Bansal ji to please start the proceedings of today's webinar. Over to you, Madam Shreya ji, please.
Thank you so much, sir. First of all, I would like to thank CS Sanjeev Singhal, sir, and CA Vishal Doshi, sir, in absentia, to giving this opportunity to moderate the session today. And I welcome all the members, our learned keynote speaker today, Yagnesh Desai ji, to this webinar on the topic using the work of another auditor, internal auditor, and an auditor's expert. As external auditors often rely on other professional auditors' work of financial statements for their clients, it is very required that we know how to use the work of another auditor, and for which we have the standards of 600, 605, and for that we have our keynote speaker today with us. So without further ado, I will request CA Hemchand Jain ji to kindly give a brief profile of our sir today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shreya. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Anil ji. And I've been asked to introduce you with our learned speaker, Mr. Yagnesh Desai, who is a veteran in the field of fraternity. And he's a member since 1983. And he has got vast experience in the field of taxation as well as audit. I will just brief the profile of him. However, it would be a very short profile for him to introduce him. But
बहुत संक्षिप्त में रखिएगा सर प्लीज.
बहुत संक्षिप्त ही मैं एक्चुअली बताना चाहूंगा क्योंकि his personality automatically speaks about himself. Mr. Yagnesh Desai, he is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, has been practicing since 16th August 1983, and he has got a vast knowledge of audit of corporate and taxation matters. He is very much actively associated with the activities of the Institute of CA. He is IFRS trainer for certificate course of IND AS conducted by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He has been trainer for diploma in IFRS examinations conducted by ACCA of UK. He has composed and delivered e-lectures for accounting standards for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He has been a speaker on accounting and auditing standards at various seminars of the Institute, also delivered motivational speeches at various national conventions, international conventions, and students' conferences. Between April 2009 till date, he has covered 1,274 sessions and seminars in about more than 40 cities in India and abroad. And he has been always a special invitee of the Accounting Standards Board of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Recently, he has been awarded Icon 202021 of Mumbai City by Times Group. And he has very good interest in his life also. He is having interest in comparing music shows. He has taken part in half marathons, and he has done the course of completed sustainability report course and passed the examinations as well. Meaning thereby he has got a very wide experience in the field of taxation, audits, as well as ESG and the changing environment in the financial world. Now I will just request him to enlighten us through his wisdom and through his wise words to the fraternity at all. Welcome, sir. Over to Mr. Yagnesh Desai ji.
Good morning and namaskar, everybody. At the outset, I'm thankful to Auditing and Assurance Standard Board Chairman Dr. Sanjeev Singhal Saab in absentia and Vice Chairman Doshi Sir, Vishal Doshi ji, for giving me an opportunity to share my knowledge with my professional brothers. इससे ज़्यादा खुशी क्या हो सकती है? And thank you Anil ji also for giving me a chance to use this platform, to come on this platform. हर सीए की एक ख्वाहिश रहती है कि हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट की कुछ सेवा की जाए. And you are giving me this platform. Thank you very much Anil ji. Thank you all team of AASB, including Megha ji, जिनसे कुछ clarification हमें चाहिए तो बिना झिझक हम पूछ लेते हैं, and she is very quick to answer those things. So, and welcome all participants on this webinar. Friends, today we are going to debate on these three standards. And as Anilji has put quite correctly, we are going to not go on word by word or para by para of these standards. We'll deal with the practical aspects. कुछ ऐसे पहलू हैं जहां हम कभी रुक जाते हैं. We need some templates. We need some guidance. Correct? There is nothing wrong to have a look at this guidance. Even at this age, even after 40 years of experience, I'm looking for some support from other areas. Correct? So we always look for some guidance because ultimately our aim is to be perfect. Right, sir? So let's start with the very first standard, using the work of another auditor. Now let us see, what do you mean by another auditor? Because when we think of another auditor, सबसे पहले, the very first thing which comes to your mind is joint auditor. Am I right, Hemchand ji? Hemchand ji, आप line पे बने रहिए हमारे, because I want this to be interactive.
Sir, sure. I'm always there. Sir. I'm always there. I'm really privileged to hear you. Yeah.
So the point is that because then it will make a little very interesting, काफी रोचक बना देंगे आपको हमारी ये वार्तालाप को, and it will bring some life to these studios. Shweta, even you can join us. Okay, Shreya? Okay, fine. So when we think of another auditor, we always think of the joint auditor, but this standard is not applicable to joint auditor, not even the predecessor auditors. Yes, sir. So then the question arises, then which auditors? Which category of auditors is covered by this standard? And one more thing, another auditor is also sometimes known by another name called component auditor. Component auditor. Okay. And so now we've seen that joint auditors are not covered by this standard. Is branch auditor covered by this standard? Yes. Correct. Now, is the auditor of a subsidiary is considered as another auditor? Yes. So now we know that this standard is applicable to the auditors of subsidiary, joint ventures, and associates on the one hand. And if a company does not have the subsidiary, associate, or JV, it may have a branch. So it refers to the branch auditors. So now we are very clear that the limit of this standard, applicability of this standard, is to only these two categories of auditors. They say interchangeably they call it other auditors or sometimes the component auditor. All right. Now the question arises that is it mandatory for the principal auditor? So now we'll call the main auditor as a principal auditor. Say for example, I am the auditor of the parent, and Hemchand ji is the auditor of subsidiaries, JVs, and associates. Okay, fine. So I call Hemchand ji as a component auditor. Hemchand ji, ये
जी सर,
आपको जचेगा? Will you be comfortable with it?
definitely sir, definitely. I will be
Okay.
fit in any kind
And
of role
श्रेया
you
को मैं
provide
कहूंगा
me.
ब्रांच ऑडिटर. श्रेया,
Definitely, sir.
ये खिताब मंजूर है आपको?
Definitely, sir.
All right. So now the question arises, how am I going to use this auditor's report? And sometimes it's quite possible that neither I have audited. There's no question of me auditing the subsidiaries and associate and JVs because Hemchand is there. But by any chance, Hemchand ji also may not have audited the components of the subsidiaries of the associate and JVs. Then what to do? So these are, and friends, I must tell you one more thing, that we don't need to confine ourselves just as SS600, but there is one more standard. बताऊंगा आपको break के बाद. All right. So तब तक keep waiting for that. All right. Okay. So we mentioned here 2 or more auditors, joint auditors is not applicable. Okay. Also, the principal auditor conclude that the financial information, financial statements of another company is immaterial. Then this standard also do not apply. Friends, my dear friends, always remember the materiality is pervasive throughout accounting and auditing, both the standards. Okay. All right. But then if you look at the third bullet point, when there are several components, बहुत सी छोटी companies are there, but combined together, put them together, if they are material, then auditor, the principal auditor should think of applying this standard. So in this case, I am the principal auditor and the component auditor is Hemchand ji, and again Shreya is also the component oblique the other auditor, right? Now I have mentioned here, discuss from whose perspective this standard is there. This standard is from the perspective of the principal auditor and not from the perspective of the another auditor or the other auditor or the component auditor. All right, one more thing, sir. I must tell you now that today we're going to cover 3 topics, AASB 600, 610 and 620. I will bifurcate them into 2 parts. On the one hand, 600. On the other hand, 610 and 620. 610 dealing with the internal auditor and 620 dealing with the auditor's expert. Why am I doing so? Because when it comes to SA 600, okay, the responsibility is that of the another auditor. The principal auditor is not responsible for the work of the another auditor. So Hemchand ji, for your work, I am not going to be responsible. But as against that, when it comes to 610, when it comes to 610 and 620, I will be responsible for your work when I rely on your work. Are you getting my point? So this is the basic difference. So in case of 600, when I am relying on your work, I am not responsible for that. So Hemchand ji, be very careful when you give me your audited financial statements. All right, sir? Okay. So this is from the perspective of the principal auditor only. And here is the definition of the principal auditor, other auditor, and the component means a division, a branch, subsidiaries, joint venture, associates of the, and now this associates, subsidiaries and all this component could be Indian and non-Indian also. All right. They could be even out of India also. And same is the case with you, Shreya. I mean, you could be a part of my foreign foreign branch also. Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah. Now, in case where the parent auditor is not the auditor of the component which are included in the financial statement. Ek minute, I'll just remove this so that I have a clear vision of the. Okay. So then what happens? And this standard is applicable only when the principal auditor has not done the audit of the components. Obviously, if I have done the audit of the subsidiary, associate JVs, there is no question of the another auditor. Am I right, sir? So this is applicable. Am I right, Hemchand ji? So when I have audited the other balance sheet of the subsidiaries, all this, there is no question of me to have another auditor. There is no question of me to have you. All right? Okay.
Yeah.
So this question, this standard is triggered when the principal auditor in case of the consolidated financial statement, is not the auditor of the subsidiaries. I would say components. Okay. Now we all know what components are, right? Okay. When it comes to the separate financial statements, the component is branch auditor, or the other auditor is branch auditor. When it comes to the consolidated financial statements, subsidiary associates or GVs. Okay. Now, who is the principal auditor? It's obvious the principal auditor is the one who is having the material auditing. And by the practical experience, I'm telling you, the principal auditor is the one who has done the audit of the parent. While the standard gives this guidelines, the material portion of the financial statements, financial information, but in practical parlance, without going into too much of a dichotomy of this, I would say that principal auditor is the one who has audited the financial statements of the parent or the holding company. Can the responsibilities be divided? Answer is yes. So where the responsibility is not divided? In 610 and 620. What do you mean by that? I mean to say that when it comes to AASB 600, when I divide the responsibility, when I have a component auditors, I'm not responsible for the work of the component auditable. हेमचंद जी, ये मंजूर है आपको? दायित्व आप करेगा. Please, you are on a mute.
You're absolutely correct, sir.
So I will not be responsible for your work.
Yeah.
But if you were an internal auditor or you are an expert,
610 and 620.
बिल्कुल सही जवाब, बिल्कुल सही जवाब. कंप्यूटर जी,
Then
ये
you become
प्रश्न
the
का
part of,
उनको
then you
इनाम
become
दिया
the part of your supervision and interrogation and have the experience of your expertise.
Yes, yes. So computer G, now it's very clear that when it comes to SA 600, my responsibility. What do you mean by mine? Principal's auditor's responsibility on expressing the opinion on the financial statements of consolidated financial statements. Mind you well, please. When it comes to the financial statements of a parent, of a group, mind you well, this is applicable only in the CFS. When I say CFS, means consolidated financial statements and not the standalone financial statement. Because we know that a parent have two types of financial statements: A, standalone / separate; B, consolidated. So needless to say, to all my dear friend chartered accountants, so when I'm talking about the standalone financial statement or the separate financial statements, and I don't have branch, even if I have subsidiaries, there's no question of me to rely on the report of the component auditor. But when it comes to the CFS, which stands for Consolidated Financial Statements, my responsibility is not, my responsibility is divided and I'm not responsible. Despite the fact that these financial statements, the financial statements of the components, were not audited by me and included in the consolidated financial statements. Correct, sir? So this, despite that, I'm sharing responsibilities with my other auditor, right? Would be all right, sir. Now, so then how do you define this, your rules and responsibilities? How you draw the line? How you draw the Rubicon? सीमा रेखा कैसे तय करते हैं? By dividing the components not audited by. And friends, I must share something with you, that I have taken the help of guidance notes issued by the ICAI, obviously essays and other materials issued by the institute. One of them is a guidance note on the consolidation financial statements. This was issued in 2016. And I'll share the link of this particular statement also. Very important. The reason being, as I mentioned to you, that when we talk of this standard, And when it comes to the consolidated financial statements, we should not confine ourselves only to 600, but go to 705. And my dear friends, I'm going to share this document with you and on the screen. At the same time, I'm going to share the link with you also. Let me tell you something here, friends. We all have everything in our life except Samay. Everybody is blessed with wealth, health, everything. But we must take out some time and read the financial statements, read the guidance note or the publications issued by ICAI. Friends, I'm also a CPA from United States of America. But when I want to take something from AICPA, if I want to buy something, if I want to have one document from AICPA, American Institute of Certified Public Accountant, I have to shell out dollars. Despite having paid the hefty membership fees of maybe 2,500 USD. Our institute is giving all free of charge to you. And perhaps that's why we may not value those things. मेरी बहुत तहे दिल से निम्र विनंती है आपसे, a very humble request to you all, that please do read those guidance notes. Because in fact, I refer to them time and again. Now, the question arises, we kept on saying that the principal auditor need to divide the responsibilities on the opinions. And we are very clear, I'm repeating it time and again, when it comes to 600, the principal auditor is privileged to share the responsibility of the financial statements included in the CFS, जिनका जिक्र भी किया गया है audit report में. They've been mentioned in the audit report as well, but despite that, he's not responsible for those financial statements. Question arises, where and how he shared this. He shared this responsibility in a paragraph called Other Matter. There are two paragraphs. One is emphasize of matter paragraph and second is the other matter. So an auditor, principal auditor, explicitly divide the responsibility in this portion of the audit report. And then we'll see that if the component from the if the qualification is material or immaterial, we will discuss about that. That what if the component audit report is modified? So then we'll see that how it is to be done, and I have given you two examples for that. Now, the additional procedures to be done by the auditor is that when Hemchandji has done the audit, I may rely on him. Just a minute. Okay. Now the question arises, sir, that Hemchandji has done the audit. He's a qualified chartered accountant. And he has done the audit. I should rely on him, but still, I may think like checking his work. I may think like I need to assure myself that look, what Hemchandji has done, what another auditor has done is correct, and he's done as per the auditing standards. He's done as per the accounting standards, and he's applied the due professional care in preparing his audit reports and expressing the opinion. Sometimes the statute requires that he must visit the place, he must interact with him. So basically what happens that we have been doing the work of certain foreign companies where the Indian entities are subsidiaries. So they apprise of now, they've already started the work because abroad the accounting year ending is December ending, calendar year ending, and that process is already started from October or November. They send us all the materials, all the documents, they apprise us. So I would say the principal auditor should apprise the other auditor or another auditor or the component auditor with what are the accounting policies to be followed by the company. Are there any changes in the accounting policies as compared to the immediate preceding previous year? And what are the key areas? What are the materiality standards for these subsidiary and for the group as such? And also that we have to also give to the principal auditors our undertaking about independence and so many things. So all these procedures have to be done by the principal auditor. As Anilji has said, Anilji said that Yagnesh bhai, please share some templates of the reporting requirement, where the principal auditor, where the component auditors have two cases, given the unmodified opinion, and second is the modified opinion. Friends, again, as I told you, I have relied on the documents of the ICAI. मैं तो केवल सूत्रधार की भूमिका निभा रहा हूं. I'm just acting as a compiler. The real knowledge is sitting in ICAI. I'm going to share this document with you. Okay, fine. Then apprise the auditors such as the areas requesting special consideration, all this. Okay, now comes here is something which is very important, making references. Friends, I must admit something, that while debating on this, I have also visited the US gas. And I borrowed certain phraseologies from that standard also, which is compatible with our Indian gas also, generally accepted auditing standards. Now here you see, as prescribed in A706, the auditor, the page number 49 and 50 of the guidance note. Okay, so let's go there. 706. Okay. Now here you see the auditor's responsibility. Okay, and let's do one thing. Let's go to this once again. As per the SS708, if the auditor considered it necessary to make the reference, now the question arises as to the references. You're not supposed to mention the name. Okay, you're mentioning the you're making the reference to the auditor, and when you make a reference, actually you divide the responsibilities. Okay, that is the word which I got from the from the US GAAP. Should disclose clearly the magnitude of the portion of the financial statements audited by the other auditors. So you are saying that this work is not done by you. So you are drawing the Rubicon, you are drawing the dividing line in saying that this was not done by me, this was done by someone else. So specimen of the audit report in the unmodified on page number 48. Let's computer G, let's go to page number 48 और हमारे मित्र को दिखाते हैं. Let's show to friends. Okay, just can you see this on your screen, sir?
Yes, sir. Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. Now one more caveat here. This guidance note was issued in 2016, not updated since then. So hence you may see that the audit report's format is as per the old one and not the new one. In the new one, we know that the first it starts with the opinion and then the basis for the opinion, right, sir? So just keep this in mind. Now, okay. Here's a specimen. Just a minute, please. Unmodified opinion is given, right? Unmodified, clear opinion. So we'll see that. As I told you, please excuse me, this is an old format. Okay. So don't think that I'm teaching you something wrong, but there's a caveat. Opinion is that very clear opinion. It is not a qualified opinion. Hemchandji, aage badhu. Can I go ahead, please?
Yeah, sure, sir. Sure. Okay. You please
and
proceed.
Now,
yeah.
Okay. Okay, now there is a unmodified opinion. Okay. Now here, let's see this. Certain components which have been audited by the auditors other than the principal auditor, and such component is or are material to the consolidated financial statements of the group. Very important. If they are if they are immaterial,
if they are material.
Yeah. The auditor of such components which are Indian companies and they did not have any matter to report under 143(3) for the company. That means even unke bhi reports, clean reports. Certain components which are unaudited, and such components are not material to the consolidated financial statements of the group. Okay, so yeah, the situation is what, sir? You are a principal auditor. There are components, but the principal auditor has not done the work auditing of the components. Hemchandji has done it, right, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so now here, let's see. Hemchandji, which paragraph did I mention that he has to mention this division of the responsibility? Other matters.
Other matters, yeah.
Correct? Chaliye. Now, we did not audit the financial statements of the financial information of subsidiaries, jointly controlled entities, operations, whose financial statements information reflect the total assets. Now they are defining. So we can always say sometime we have not done the audit of 5 subsidiaries or 6 JVs or 6 associates, something like that. Okay. So of blank is the number of subsidiaries. Okay. And this is very clearly as the consolidated financial statements. Okay. This financial statements, financial information have been audited by other auditors. I'm not writing the name of Hemchandji. I'm simply mentioning the other auditors, whose reports have been furnished to us by the management, and our opinion on this consolidated financial statement insofar as it relates to the amounts and disclosures included in respect of these subsidiaries, jointly controlled entities, joint venture and associate operations and associates, and our report in terms of subsection 43(3) of the Companies Act, insofar as it reflects to the aforesaid subsidiaries, JVs, and its associates are concerned, is based solely on the reports of the auditors. What it means, sir? It means I relied on you, Hemantji.
Yeah.
Principal auditors relied on the component auditor, another auditor. We kept on saying, see, if you just read AS 600, you'll not come to know where to disclose this. Correct? But when you pursue the guidance note, you will come to know where and how to share this. If I simply say, oh, he has to share this responsibility, आप क्या समझते हैं, हेमचंद कुछ समझ पाते? Do you think you would have understood? But that is this aspect I want to cater to. Rather than reading the number of the clause by clause analysis of the 600, 610, and 620, I want to cater to you. I want to bring you on a platter. Here is the thing which you need to do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure many of you must have been doing that. Please mind you well, mind my dear friends, don't pardon me when I say all these. It doesn't mean you are not doing. Correct? But Batur faculty, it's my duty to bring to your notice.
Yeah.
My assumption is that, of course, you must be doing this, no denying, but it's my duty to tell you this. Certain of these subsidiaries, joint venture, associates are located outside India. Now, he is referring to the companies or the components outside India. So there are two things. Besides components not audited by him, at the same time, they are covered by other framework.
Yeah.
Correct? Whose financial statements and other financial information have been prepared in accordance with the accounting principles generally accepted in their respective countries, and which have been audited by the other auditors under the generally accepted auditing standards applicable to their respective countries. The company's management has converted this financial statements of such subsidiary, etc., from which are located outside India, from accounting principles generally accepted in their respect to ICAI. And we know that we have to do this. Correct, sir? So the foreign exchange standards say that you need to, subsidiaries, associates, JVs, and branches. They are known as foreign operations. They are known as the foreign operations. And at the closing date of the financial year, the principal or the parent or the HO has to translate the financial statements of the foreign operations into the functional currency, into the INR. Okay, and then merge, club with the Indian accounts or the accounts of the parent. Our opinion insofar as relates to the balance and the affairs of such subsidiaries, blah, 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 is based on the report of the other auditors and the conversion adjustments prepared by the management of the company and audited by us. What auditor has done here? He's relied on the statements prepared by the other auditor. And one more thing. The management, Indian management, has translated these financial statements into the local currency, into the functional currency, and now they are part of your financial statements. Now, We did not audit the financial statements, financial information, subsidiaries, entities, etc., for the year ended. The consolidated financial statements also includes group asset profit. So here he is bifurcating, sir. Correct? He is making again a separation here. Now let us see this. Okay. These financial statement information are unaudited. Now, what is the difference between the paragraph A and paragraph A and paragraph B? What we were looking here is paragraph A. Correct, Hemchandji?
Ji, sir. Ji, sir.
In A, they have been audited by someone else at least, if not me.
Yeah.
Who is someone? Another auditor.
Other auditor.
Other auditor. Who is also component auditor, right? Correct.
Yeah.
But here in B, what is the difference? Pehla, we are saying that we are not audited. So we are very clear that I am not audited. Then you are going one step further. Saying what? Even they have not been audited by even others also. By other, neither by me, nor by other auditors.
Yeah.
So that ye difference hai between A and B. Now let us see what he says. And these financial statements are unaudited and have been furnished to us by the management, and our opinion on the consolidated finance insofar as relates to the amounts and the disclosures included in the respect of these subsidiaries, blah, 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 and our report in terms of 143 of the Act insofar as it relates to the aforesaid subsidiaries, blah, 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 and associate is based solely on such unaudited financial statements and financial information. ये information क्यों कहते हैं? By chance अगर वो review है तो वहाँ पे आएगा. And according to the information and explanations given to us by the management. Now, last is very important, sir. This is very important. Now, this paragraph, the last paragraph, is also applicable, will be there in case of emphasis of matter paragraph also. Our opinion above on the consolidated financial statements and our report on the other legal and regulatory requirements below is not modified in respect of the above matters with respect to our reliance on the work done and the reports of the other auditors and the financial statements, financial information certified by the management. Mind you and my dear friends, two situations we can see here. A, principal auditor has not done the audit of the components. Set number one, component auditor, other auditor has done the audit. Situation number two, even component auditors have not done anything. They are unaudited. So what am I supposed to do? At least get a certification from the management. Get a certification from the management that they have adopted this, they have certified this. Are you getting my point, sir? So, Shreya and Hemchandji, now it's time for you to give me the opinion. How do you find this is going? If you think I'm a bit fast, I'll slow down. If you think I need to change, I'll modify. So I will modify or not modify depending whether it will be unmodified or modified depending on your feedback. And I consider you to be the iconic personalities of all my listeners and viewers here. Please tell me if there's a need to.
The speed is up.
Yeah.
Please go ahead, Shreya, please.
Yes, sir, it's fine. The pace is fine.
Okay. Hemchandji, any suggestion?
Yeah, absolutely correct, sir. Absolutely correct. Now you are on the way to report on the final conclusion of the study.
Yeah. Okay. The principal auditor would not be responsible in respect to the work. So as I told you, we are making two sets here. One is 600, second is 610 and 620. Yeah. 600 principal auditor is not responsible for the others' work. In case of 610 and 620, when we come to that standard, the standards you read there, that he is still responsible for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So ये बहुत बड़ी भेद रेखा है, sir. Okay. All right. Reliance not place. When the principal auditor concludes that the work of the other auditor cannot be used, the principal auditor has not been able to perform the sufficient and the additional procedures regarding the financial information of the component audited by the auditor, they should express a qualified opinion or disclaimer of the opinion, because there is a limitation of the scope. Now I put into the question, into the bracket, why not an adverse opinion? Qualified opinion could be there, but they are talking about the disclaimer and not the adverse opinion, because we know that when there is a scope limitation, it will give rise to the auditor's tool is to disclaim the opinion. If accounting principles are not followed, then he could have given the adverse opinion. You get my point, sir? And that's why it's not the adverse opinion, but it is the disclaimer. Now, when the component auditor reports on the financial statements under an accounting framework different from that of the parent, okay. Now, in this case, the guidance is given in. Now, again, I have put a note here. The guidance note was issued in 2016, not updated. Hence, the specimen or the audit report is as per the old format and the new format. And we know clearly that new format, you have to give the opinion first, and then the second para is the basis for the opinion, right, sir? So, Computer G, let's go there. And let's go to page number 48. I think we've seen that, but once again, Hemji sir, Hemchandji,
sir.
I'm taking a little more time here in this standard because this is very important standard, okay? And that's why I'm taking bit of the more time here.
Sure, sir, sure.
Okay, now let us go to another. Since we are here, let's look at the modified opinion. First, we have seen is the unmodified opinion. Second, we are looking at the unmodified opinion. Certain components which have been audited by the auditors other than the principal auditor, and such components are material. Okay, this is again gives a modified opinion on the content. Let us see, Computer G, where is the modified opinion? Okay. We draw your attention to the following qualification to the audit opinion of the financial statements. Name of the subsidiary, a subsidiary of the holding company issued by an independent firm of chartered accountants, wide reported at XYZ, reproduced by us as under. Now, one of the component auditor, Hemchandji, has given the qualified report, and that is a material one. The state the basis of the qualification as included by the component auditor in this report. So Hemchandji, I'm going to include your report and the remarks. Okay. Then in this case, since the matter seems to be material, from my perspective, I have given the qualified opinion. In our opinion, and to the best of our information, X, Y, Z, and it say that the aforesaid consolidated financial statements give the information by the act in the manner as required by the for the effects of the matter referred to in the basis of qualification above gives a true end. So we are seeking an exception. Barring this, it is giving a true end. And then there is again the other matter. Now this other matter is same ditto as per the A and B, which we discussed earlier. We did not audit the financial statements of this thing. They've been audited by someone else. And as far as the second part is concerned, this is again about the located outside India, where they were converted into the local currency. Did not audit the financial statements of this thing. Okay. And again, you say that our opinion on the above is not modified. Correct, sir? So this is right. This is just for the quick reference, I have put it here. What if the other auditor need not be a chartered accountant? Because the audit is compulsory in India for private limited companies. Abroad, it is compulsory only for the listed entities. In US, this is audit is not compulsory for the private companies. It is compulsory for the listed companies, even if it is a C corporation, even if it is a S corporation. Audit is not compulsory, correct? And then you have to get the certificate from there. Or even the auditors are not qualified like chartered accountant. They may be ACC or something like that. So there it is up to the judgment of the auditor what steps you take. Materiality governs. Depart from the standard report. We have given the example. The standard reports means the unmodified opinion. if the auditors, the component auditors give the modified opinion, Hemchandji, we have shown you the specimen given in the guidance note. Friends, this guidance note is very, very important even from the perspective of SA 600. Framework is different again, but here is say that even if the framework is different, you should bring it as per the GAS. GAS is the generally accepted auditing standards. Component not audited, we've seen here that component not audited should be specifically mentioned, that this were not audited even by, neither by us, not even by the other auditor, oblique the component auditor. And again, this is very important that whatever documents you find, whatever findings are there by the principal auditor must be documented. This is one area we chartered accountants are feeling very shy and not really doing the documentation. You must do it. You need to coordinate with the other auditor. As I told you, friends, there are some documents which have been shared by which I can try and give the template for that. But basically, there's all. So, friends, I must tell you one thing. When we are acting as a component auditor, the principal auditor do share with us the complete documents concerning the company, how the group is following, which policy the group is following, where being an Indian subsidiary, you have to be careful about, and you have to give your independence report, you have to give even your documents also. So that also you have to share with. So principal auditor can ask so many things, and he's all the right to ask us demonstrate the audit procedures followed by us. Correct? All the rights he has. He can also come and visit us, but normally it doesn't happen. So these are the things you have to be coordinated with the auditor, including time, nature, timing, extent of the audit procedures to be followed. I mean, they may sometimes say, like, for example, last year they say that, Mr. Desai, as far as your revenue is concerned, we want you to do the complete 100% audit of the revenue and reconciliation with your local taxes, which is GST. So they had given us a very specific instruction. Now this time they are giving the instruction on the expenses written off by the company. So there is a bad debts, correct? Because they saw the bad debts are little material. So depending on the data, where the balance, trial balance, and the financial statement shared by the Indian subsidiary, they guide us as to where we should focus more in current year's time. Okay, sir. Hemchand ji,
Yeah.
तो
Sure, sir.
Can we move? हम प्रस्थान करें 610
बिल्कुल
पे.
sir, बिल्कुल.
Internal auditors, right?
Yeah.
Now we are coming to the regime where Mr. Principal Auditor, who was the principal auditor, now this term is not going to be used here, has to be very careful. The reason being, he will be responsible even for the work of internal auditor, whether he relied, whether he explicitly mentioned or not. Now, this standard number 600, we know that where to report. We have to report where, sir? Shreya, where? Other matter paragraph. Correct, Shreya?
Right, sir. Right, sir.
Are you with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
आप बीच में गायब हो गए थे.
Sir, actually, I had some.
I understand, Baba. I'm just joking, Baba. Okay. So मैं केवल यही पूछना चाहता हूँ, so that others also understand that the where to report. As far as internal auditors are concerned, or even for that matter, the experts are concerned, there is no specific requirement in the auditor's report. But as far as internal auditor is concerned, there is a requirement in CARO.
Yeah.
You know all that, right? There is a requirement of some kind of a compliances in the CARO. Otherwise, you don't need to report anywhere about the internal in your audit report. That, you know, I mean, auditor will not say, I have relied on the work of the internal audit report, right? Hemchand ji, I'm changing your role now.
Yeah.
Sir, now you are the internal auditor, right, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, क्या मैं आपके काम का इस्तेमाल कर सकता हूँ?
बिल्कुल sir, बिल्कुल. You are absolutely.
Am I permitted to use your work, sir?
Yeah, of course, sir. And you will use it. I know, as far as SA 61 is authorizing and asking you to use it, you will consider it.
Okay. So thank you so much. I mean, you are absolutely right. We are on the same page that SA 610 and even the Companies Act, even the
Yeah.
regulators do permit me to rely on the work of the internal auditor, right?
Internal
But
auditor. Yeah.
here I must say something. As I told you, so when I take up any lectures, any assignment, or any deliberation, I am always more than happy to dwell upon. The reason being, it gives me a chance to read a lot.
Yeah.
Otherwise, which I
Yeah.
would not have read. So while going through all these, I was going through mostly I go through the UK and US literature. So just for your general knowledge, in
Yeah.
UK,
Yeah.
reliance on the internal auditors or the seeking the help of the internal auditor is not permitted, is prohibited.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is prohibited in UK. In US, it is permissible.
Okay.
Correct? Just for an Oliver. I mean, it's not going
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not
Absolutely
going to
correct, sir.
impair or harm or do anything, but जानना जरूरी है सर.
जानना
And
जरूरी
मैं
है.
तो श्रेया ये कहूंगा, अब देखिए हेमचंद जी is also very senior,
Right, sir.
and I'm also very senior, but you have time with you,
Right,
correct?
sir.
पूरी
Right, right,
जिंदगी
right.
आपके सामने है ना?
Right.
Sir,
I'm
may I
still
know?
learning from you both.
Yeah,
I'm
may
still
I interrupt you, sir?
Yes, sir.
What is the logic behind this approach of relying or not relying? I mean, of UK and US on the
Yeah.
internal
Now,
auditor's report.
UK says that
Yeah.
internal auditor
Yeah.
normally are not independent.
Are not independent. They are under the influence of management, and they.
Management. And again, secondly, sir, I must say something that, in fact, I must read this because I realize it is very important.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of reading because this I'm doing for the benefit of the readers, for
Yeah.
the viewers.
Yeah.
Is an internal audit is an independent, objective assurance and consultancy activity designed to improve the organization's operations. And I think I mentioned something here in one of the slides. Let's not forget that internal auditor is reporting to the management.
Yeah. Of course.
Whereas statutory auditor, the external auditor, they've used the word here, is reporting to the shareholders.
To the
Correct?
shareholders. Yes.
And sometimes internal auditor could be an employee of the company.
Of course.
Correct? So there could be a conflict of interest. And I have put
Yeah.
it somewhere that yes, you can rely on certain areas on the internal auditor's work, but you have to be very careful.
Very careful.
Suppose when it comes to the regulations and all this, I'm jumping the Rubicon. If we are going to discuss it later also, but क्योंकि ये बात छेड़ दी है, since you've taken up this point, let me discuss now.
Yeah.
Suppose you intend to rely on the internal auditor on the compliances of the regulations, like GST, like TDS, PF, and all this. He's been doing that work. But at the same time, he's a consultant for the company for these three things. Do you think you're going to rely on that?
Yeah. 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 Absolutely correct. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
objectivity. What is the object? What is the independence and all this, right? So this is where you need to be very careful. You can rely. In fact, there are illustrative lists where you can rely on the internal auditor's work for certain areas, and I think you should also, because it saves time, energy, and I always say it affects your NET, nature, extent, and timing of the audit procedures. It may provide you evidence, but conditions apply. I mean, don't blindfoldedly follow that. I have done this for company A. Let me do it for company B here. Because in company A, he was not the consultant. In company B, the internal audit is also the consultant for the regulatories and all this. Right, sir? So this is where I have put this asterisk mark, legally
Yeah.
permissible or not. Because there I wanted to say about the UK, right?
Yeah.
And so so who decides that the external auditor? Now, sir, we are changing the paribhasha. We are changing the language of the auditor. Rather, from the principal auditor, we are now talking about the external auditor.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So, external auditor, who decides that whether he should rely on the work of the internal auditor or not? Is the management or the external auditor? Answer is external auditor. takes the call, right? Whether the work of the internal auditor is likely to be adequate for the purpose of the audit. And so he thinks that is it going to be helping me or not? Friends, I've embedded Companies Act also here, sir. And that's where I say, but I must admit that there are a couple of my office assistants who will help me out here, because it's not my work; it is a teamwork, sir. Okay, call Dirali. Yeah. So whenever they help me, I always acknowledge. And as I told you, it's a teamwork, right? Because अकेले कुछ नहीं कर सकता है. Correct, and we must always give credit to those who help me. So when I was preparing this, so this the girls who is a CA finalist, and her name is Dirali. She told me, sir, how about including the Companies Act provisions here? I said, very good. So as I told you, it's a teamwork. So I included Companies Act requirement, section 138 of the CA, and she only, with the help of another gentleman, prepared the chart as to where the internal auditor is required. For listed companies, it is a must. For unlisted company, there are various parameters. I don't remember honestly by heart, but it is there. And I'm going to share with you. Okay. So there, Dirali, thank you for your help. So she was here. Anyway, so now work of internal auditor likely to educate for the purpose of audit. As I told you, and ET depends on that nature, extent, and timing. And actually we have realized that mostly Hemchandji, okay, now Hemchandji with ICAI TV with cameraman Yagnesh Desai. Hemchandji, now it's over to you. What is your experience in terms of your experience? In which cases have you relied on the work of internal auditor?
Sir, it's sometimes we have seen the cost controlling activities of the organization, in which we try to rely upon the internal auditors, but somehow we had to plan out some external auditors to enter the shoes of an internal auditor. Because internal auditor, as you specifically mentioned, it is, of course, it is in line with the management and in line with the people who are working and may or may not be the employees of the company. So independence, sometimes it compromised. That's why that's why we had to go for that kind of option.
And as you said correctly, we have to step into the shoes of the internal auditor. And again, you said correctly that sometimes he may be an employee or may not be an employee.
Yeah.
I have seen of late the companies, reputed companies.
Yeah.
They normally hire certain LLPs, certain consulting firm.
Yeah.
Consulting firm for the internal audit.
Yeah.
I don't want to name the certain companies because it's against the ethics. But there are many companies who are kind of corporates and they are conducting such audit.
Yeah.
So it all depends on who is the internal auditor.
Yeah, it all depends.
His objectivity, independence, and his knowledge and the procedures he applied in his standing in the industry, in the profession. Correct? Yeah. So if it's a company of repute and we know that they are the internal auditor, then I don't need to do much efforts, take much efforts as compared to an individual. Yeah. As compared to an individual who is also related to the company. Yeah. Correct? It also have to see that whom they report to. Yeah. Whom they report to. Correct?
They report to the management.
Management, yes.
They report to the management, actually. This we do have experienced in our past certain years. As you rightly mentioned, there are big corporates and who had actually appointed and made out a project like for that kind of internal audit procedures and internal audit activities to be carried out by certain external people. External people may be qualified auditors, maybe unqualified auditors, but they are not related with the management. And their whole objective was to ascertain the particular area, the particular job assigned to them. That was the performance. And it was well reported to the management, and management could see while maintaining the independence of such kind of auditors, they could see the material effect on their revenue or expenditure or internal control exercises. which
Thank you,
affects a
Hemchandji,
lot.
line पे बढ़ाने के लिए, and thank you for sharing your experience. I appreciate really. So basically, as the internal auditors, the external auditors called to look into the following things. And we've seen that an individual also could be internal auditor, need not necessarily be a chartered accountant. And in fact, I was going to the documents of ICAI also. They'll say, but the company secretaries could be the internal auditors as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I think we must, normally we've seen that when we advise clients to have some professionals other than us, to have the internal
One
auditor,
more thing
it
I would
really
like to
helps
add,
them,
sir.
sir.
Being a chartered accountant and this qualification, normally it really adds to the quality of the internal audit.
And they realize that there's a real value addition by the chartered accountants.
Yeah, it plays its own role, and it's really a very good value addition, because a chartered accountant's approach is something different, a professional approach.
Yes.
As
So
compared to
basically, we
others.
come to a conclusion. There is a external auditor's call, keeping in mind the followings: who is the auditor? How qualified is he? How independent is he? Correct? Whom he reports to? Okay. And sometimes you realize that, look, I relied on his work last year, but then I found that this is a fraud this year. Correct? So that means, in such cases, you get the flag, you get the alert, right? Okay. Then we have to see that whether to whom he reports to. Is he reporting to the general manager or the board or the audit committee? Correct? And is the management implementing the recommendations, if any? Sir, एक बात बताओ, हेमचंद जी. I have seen that mostly people say, and they in the audit report, in the Karo report also say that we've relied on the work of internal auditor, but they forget one thing. About appointment of the
internal. Of course.
वो documentation नहीं होते सर. MGD 14 फाइल करना होता था एक जमाने में. Of course, in 2015 the companies have been there is an exemption from filing this thing to certain class of companies, but still, nonetheless, one should be very careful about it, because this should be a part of the board's agenda. Okay, and then and the minutes, and then the board reports, the minutes of the board come. Should not place. Okay, now you see that the company which has been hired by the internal auditor hired by the company is class number 1. Okay, he's a corporate of a repute, and do you think that external auditor can blindfoldedly or totally rely on his name? You are a very good company, so I am very happy, I don't need to do anything. No, one should not do so, because
not at all, sir, not at all.
Because the fact that we should not be swayed, or we should not be impressed too much by the eclipse by the company, so we have to at minimum do something. Now, I think what I have mentioned here, let's not forget, assurance is given to whom? Internal auditors provide assurance with the governance boundary to the audit committee and to the board in general and to the senior management, whereas the external auditor has to report not to any of them but to the shareholders and the investors. So ये भेद रखना बहुत important है, sir. So our onus is more than that of them. So these are the areas where the independent auditor may contribute to the external auditor in the following areas. Internal control system, ascertain the extent of the compliance with the policies, procedures, regulations. Mostly, sir, regulations and inventory to 100% hoti hai, sir. Inventories, payroll, sometime in a remote location, the physical verification of the property, plant, equipment, something like that. Okay. So these are the areas by and large where an external auditor can place reliance on the internal auditor. Inventory, regulatory compliances, verification of the PPE in remote areas, caution conflict of interest, internal auditor acting in a dual capacity. That when it comes to the regulatory compliances, he's a consultant for GST, for the income tax, for the PF and all this, and at the same time he's acting as an internal auditor. So do you think he's going to say no compliance? He's bound to say everything is all right. So conflict of interest have to be kept in mind.
That is kept in mind, yes, definitely.
Statutory recognition of the internal auditor, 138 of the Companies Act. Listed companies must have internal auditor. And here is the table, sir, which has been prepared by a team.
Yeah.
So this is applicable to the three categories: listed companies, unlisted company, and private limited company, right? Private company.
Ji.
Correct. So you have to be very careful about these limits, sir, and
Yeah.
see to it that, sir, limits itni बढ़ गई है ना, sir, about the small companies, about the internal auditor,
Yeah.
about vigile mechanism, sir. Vigile mechanism is also one area where people normally forget. They think that it is not applicable to private companies at all.
Yeah.
Sir, दूसरों की क्या बात करें? Even I was under impression. Please, I am not a complete man like Raymond's. Correct. So point is that you have to be very careful about this thing. The only thing is that on 31st March 2024, yeah, much before that, try and see that कौन सी लिमिट में कहाँ पे लक्ष्मण रेखा क्रॉस की है, where the company
Ji,
has
ji.
crossed the Rubicon, because sometimes something has to be done before the year end. So I think in January, February is a time for us to tighten our seatbelt and
Yeah.
get the certain numbers from the companies. Now, this is very important. The appointment of the internal auditor is to be done only by means of a resolution passed by the at the meeting of the board of directors under Rule 8 of the Rules 2014. The filing of resolution under this was exempted, correct, sir? So,
Yes.
but otherwise, it was MGT 14 was to be filed earlier. Fine, okay. Now, make sure that the board has accepted. Very important, sir. Nonetheless, provide private company is still required to comply with the requirement of Section 179. Section 179 read with the Rule 8 say that the board has a power to appoint the company secretary and the internal auditor. Make sure that the board has accepted and acted upon. So very important, very important. It has to be a part of the minutes of the board meeting that they have accepted this internal auditor's report. Okay, even Caro 2020 paragraph 14 of paragraph 14 of clause 3 says whether the company has an internal auditor system commensurate with the size and the nature, and whether the reports internal auditors were considered by the statutory auditor. So we need to see not just 610 but even for the Caro Act also. Okay, sir. Would you like to take the question answer at the end, or would you like to take the questions pertaining to 600 and 610 now? I leave it to you, Hemchandji.
At the end, sir, because it is planned in such a manner that we
Okay.
will take on all the question answers in the end.
Okay.
Yes.
Shreya, are you okay with this internal auditor standard, or you would, being an iconic personality of the listeners or the viewers, you know, to say something? Is there
No, sir,
anything
it's
which?
it's great learning this essay 610 from you. It's going great, and I'm actually learning some new things from you. So it's great.
Okay. Now the only thing is that you have to take a holistic view and not just
Right,
stick
sir.
to the just 600, 610. Like 610, when we dekha ki you to look at the modified audit report, how and where to be inserted a particular paragraph. Placement of paragraph is very important.
Right, sir.
Okay,
Right.
fine. So Hemchandji, is other here for the third standard?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So now we talk about the experts.
620.
620. Sir, there are two types of experts here.
Yeah.
Same expert is an expert of the management, and the same expert could be an expert for the auditor. I mean, same category, same class. I don't mean to say Mr. A could be a management expert and Mr. A also could be the auditor's expert. No, but the kind of, now let us see who the expert is. Either an individual or organization. So it could be LLP, it could be a private limited company, it could be a corporate body also. Because certain values are private, but certain agencies may be corporate. LLP maybe work in a field of expertise other than accounting or auditing. So if you are relying on work of chartered accountant or a person who is expert in accounts and all this, he will not be considered as an expert. Now again, when I was going to the standard, you have to read between the lines and see whether he's acting as an accountant or a consultant. I am a chartered accountant and I am doing the accounting of the financial instrument under Ind AS 109, Ind AS 32, and Ind AS 107. I am expert in accounting of the financial instruments. So I will not be considered as an expert. I will not be considered as an expert from the perspective of 620. But as against that, if I'm a valuer of financial instruments, if I do the fair value of the financial instruments, then I am an expert.
Expert.
So this is how the differentiation is there. And friends, I must say that Institute has given a fantastic guidance notes. Guidance. If you read this 610 and 620 standards, they have given the application guidance kind of a thing. There are some paragraphs starting with number A. So these are application guidance. You must read this. You must read this, sir. Rather, I would say that all CA fraternity, before they embark on the audit for the next financial year, January, February, March is bit lean season, even except the audit committee meeting around February. But I think they should capitalize time between 15th of February till 31st of March and revisit all the auditing and the accounting standards. You don't need to consult any expert here. So much rich is the literature provided by the ICAI. Now we have seen that expert is the one who is expert in the other than accounting and auditing. I give the example whereby a chartered accountant dealing with the accounting treatment is not considered as an expert from the perspective of the 620. But the same chartered accountant, if he is acting as a valuer, then he is an expert. Management's expert work of an individual organization possessing an expertise in the field other than accounting auditing, whose work is that field is used by the entity to assist the entity in preparing the financial statements. That's known as a management expert, which is dealt with in SA 500. Now you see the difference. Now earlier, the one which is being done here, expert is SA 220, and this is 500. This is the risk assessment by the auditor, and this is the evidence. So if an expert has acted for the company, known as a management expert, then he provides evidence. Then he provides the evidence to the external auditor. Sorry, the auditor here. Now we have to forget the word external here. Earlier in the first one, the word was principal. In the second, 610 was external, and here is the auditor. Now, why is the need for the expert? Because we are not clairvoyant. Our education and experience enable him to do he or her to be knowledge about the business matters in general, but there are certain intricacies where you need expertise. Like people say that derivative and hedging. Hedge accounting, not compulsory though, but hedge accounting is very, very difficult, sir. Despite associated with the Ind AS since last at least 15 years, okay, IFRS since last 15 years. In fact, I find it difficult for the hedge accounting because you need to establish the hedging relationship between the hedged item and the hedged instruments. People say it's 80, 125, all these, but not so easy, sir. So I need to consult someone, some expert who is doing the hedge effectiveness documents. Correct, sir? So the CA does not mean you know everything under the sun. And now GST is become so complicated. So complicated. Why GST? Even the Companies Act. Compliances have increased multiple times. Time bound. So you need some consultant, some lawyers that please guide me about the application of this standard. About the rotational authority, there is always confusion whether it is applied retrospectively or prospectively. When you completed 5 years or 10 years, as the case may be, should you wait for another 5 years or 10 years or not? There's a lot of dispute about that. This is one example. There could be many. There could be multiple. So you need someone's help because you don't know everything yourself. Correct? And don't pretend that you know everything. You get my point? That's why you need expert. Auditor may encounter complex or the subjective matters potentially material to the financial statements. Such matters may require a special skill or knowledge, and in the auditor's judgment require using the work of a specialist to obtain the appropriate evidence. Specialist or even the expert. The correct word is the expert and not the specialist. Specialist word is used in the US GAAP. Examples of experts. Now, to this standard applies include but are not limited to. This is just a illustrative list. Are actuaries, appraisers, engineers, environmental consultant, and geologists. Environmental consultant reminds me about the carbon credit. Accounting of the carbon credit, right? Valuation of the carbon credit is very difficult, sir. You get my point? So here you need definitely the consultants who are expert in this field. We all know that all these days, and Purane to hai, the mines and the minerals and the oils and all these, this there also you require the values, but these are again one more thing, environmental consultants. To attorneys engaged as a specialist in a situation other than to provide services as a client concerning litigation claims, then again the major area you require the consultant, the expert is the litigations of the client. May be engaged by a client or by the auditor as an expert in a variety of other circumstances, including interpreting the provisions of the contract. Yes, there is again an important thing. A lot of contracts enter into, and then you have to understand. This is again the example given in the standard itself. So I'm not going to debate much on that. Valuation, basically evaluation physical characteristics of the certain minerals. Determination of the amount derived by the specialist for the techniques in the method, determination of the employee benefits. Yes, actuarial. Interpretation of the technical requirement, legal requirement, the valuation of the environmental liabilities such as the cleanup cost. Now, this cleanup cost again very important, sir. We know that AS10 dealing with the property, plant and equipment, AS10 dealing with the property, plant and equipment is on the same line as the Ind AS oblique IFRS. Now, for the property, plant equipment, there is something called decommissioning cost. The cost which an entity is required to spend after, say, at the end of the useful life. The useful life is 30 years, and at the end of 30 years, the entity is legally bound to spend some money. Cleanup cost, decommissioning cost. In US GAAP, it is known as a asset retirement obligation, ARO. This cost have to be estimated now, but to be spent after 30 years, after the end of the useful life, at the end of the useful life. So you need to understand from an expert as to how much will be required at the end of 30 years. So no one can predict, right? So there you need the help of such an expert. Then analysis of the complex and the unusual tax compliances issues. Yes, sir. We know that tax compliance is how critical, right, sir? So you need advice of an expert that whether this provision has to be made or not. Okay? So these are the various areas where auditor has to rely on the work of an expert. Now, use of expert in auditor's responsibility. To express an opinion is not reduced by auditor's use of the work of an auditor. You cannot say that, I relied on the top of the line consultant of the country, the best lawyer of the country. I relied on him. Okay. So what is important, friends? At minimum, auditor has to apply his knowledge. He knowledge from the experience with the company and maybe in the industry. He can always see what the accounting treatment done by the other companies in the same field. What is accounting literature available in India and abroad also on the same topic? Correct? You may go to US GAAP also, because I have seen US GAAP. There are something which is not there in our standards, but you can always take some help from them. Take some cue from them. And then improvise, update your knowledge. We understand that you don't have the knowledge of a particular subject, and that's why you're appointing the experts. And now Hemchand TV asked me, sir, Sir, it is very clear, Yagnesh Bhai, that you don't have knowledge of ABCD, particular subject, and that's why you're relying on the work of an expert. You appointed the expert. You have agreement with the experts. But how do you know that he's right or wrong? Hemchandji, I may not be an expert, but I have something called common sense. And now I have Chat GPT-4.
Yeah.
You get my point? I have AI now. So I
Yeah.
can make use of AI and his, hey, please tell me what you would have done here.
Yeah.
And I'll get the information like this. All right, still after that, my conscience bites me. He said, something is wrong somewhere. His report was right. There was no deviation in his report since last 10 years. I have been always taking this report from him and I don't see any variation in his report. And suppose whatever valuation he's given me, almost at the same price the entity has sold the goods thereafter. So events after the reporting period and all these are in favor of him. But this time something is wrong somewhere. So my intuition tells me that I must do something. So what am I to do then? I may look for another expert. I may look for another asset. Conditions apply. When I see that something is wrong somewhere, I'm not comfortable. I may not be an expert, but I still have got something general knowledge. Correct?
Yeah.
My experience with the company, my experience as a valuer, and industry experience now. You getting my point, sir? So I have a tool that I can always take opinion of another expert. Who is a part. Okay, now this is one very important thing. An auditor's expert may be either an auditor's internal expert, who is a partner of the staff, including temporary staff of the auditor's firm, or a network firm, or an auditor's external expert. Now, this is a gray area. This is the area where an auditor has to be ultra vigile because independence may be compromised. Try and avoid such situation. I mean, there are dime a dozen consultants in India and abroad, right? So don't go for the consultants, expert who are part of your company. This is very important, sir. An agreement in writing. The word is shall. Hemchandji,
Ji, sir.
I've yet to come across any such agreement by an auditor with an expert. Very rare to see.
Of course.
In the first thing, they feel very shy of appointing an expert. They think that what client will think that I don't know this or what. They may perhaps impair my knowledge. They may perhaps think that I don't know anything else. I don't know much about this. But don't bring any ego issues. Take because ultimately you need to safeguard yourself.
Yeah.
Correct. The one area where one standard or one accounting requirement where you need to have the expert opinion is the contingent liability.
Yeah.
Correct, sir? A court case is going on or some kind of a dispute is there and you're not too sure about that. So in that case, sir, do not hesitate to get an opinion of the consultant legal. Now, in that case, in all probability, the entity, the auditee must have appointed a consultant, a lawyer, not consultant, a lawyer, to defend the company's case. Avoid taking opinion from the company's lawyer. The reason being, he may not, in all likelihood, to give the honest opinion about the text, about the liability or the possible liabilities because of his relation with the auditee, relation with the client. So try and avoid such thing. There could be one expert, there could be some expert employed by the client, by the auditee, and if he's a related party, then what would you do, sir? The standard does not explicitly prohibit such appointment, including US GAAP. Even US GAAP say that even if the expert is related to a party, that's fine, it's okay, you can, but then you have to be ultra cautious. Because you need to discount the, because they need to say that you need to be sure that he may be, he may not be independent. right? Scope of the AT, the respective roles and responsibilities of the auditor and expert, the nature, timing, and extent of the communication, provided the need to observe confidentiality requirement, fine. वो तो expert करेंगे. Sir, we have seen that when it comes to actuary, we relied on their reports blindfoldedly. We say, whatever actuary say is correct, is hardcore fact for us. We don't challenge that. But this is the experience of another senior chartered accountant, not me. They asked the company, because actuarials make the very intricate calculations, which includes the mortality rate, which includes the balance the balance remaining tenure of the employee, the increments policy, the inflation, and also the fact that probability that he will be working with the company till end of his tenure. He'll complete his tenure. He may not leave in between. So all these factors which are highly uncertain, these have to be assumed by the then the retrenchment. I mean the way the attrition rate of the employees and all these are the inputs, and based on that simulation, actual works. But the basic difference lies in the data provided by the company. If they provide the data, I mean, this little trick in the promotion policies or the increment policies or the other policies, leave salary or something like that, then it is going to make a huge and a humongous difference on the calculations. So what he did, he asked the, rather than relying on the report of the actual, he asked the actual, please give me the assumptions on which you are working. Because the outcome is inextricably connected with the assumptions made by the actual. So I would say you should go one step further. And what's the first step? What that one step further? You should also see the understanding of the expert about the company's data, details, and information. Also seek from the client. Also be sure from the client that what kind of information you've given to them, right? To the expert. Now, when deciding whether to use auditor's expert may include following. These are the indicators of the areas where the auditor is required to decide whether he should take the help of an expert or not. It's not compulsory though. It is his prerogative, his call. But then what he's supposed to do? Whether the management is used the management's expert in preparing the financial statement, because then he's known as which expert? Management's expert. Correct? In that case, management expert act in the outputs are considered as an evidence. As an evidence. In this complexity, the risk of the T is missing. The risk of material misstatement in the matter, the expected nature of the procedures respond to the identified knowledge, and actually there are many other things which he should consider. Like, to begin with, the mandate. What mandate has been given to him? Based on premises / assumption. What kind of assumption he's been given? Because everything depends on that. One change here and there, finish. The numbers will go for a toss. Okay. Then in past, so they say experience with the valuer. What is your experience? Has it been correct? Has there been a deviation or not? That is to be taken into account. And of course, the agreements with the auditor, agreement by the auditor with the expert. I'm yet to see any agreement as such, sir. How many of us are actually making use of it? As I told you, we are feeling very shy of it. But when we do, please make this agreement. Okay, sir? Don't forget. Shreya, aap to bahut young hai. I mean, a lot of life ahead of you. Okay?
Yes,
You
sir.
need to बहुत पापड़ बेलने हैं आपको.
Right, sir.
Okay, so try to be as compliant with the standard of auditing as you can. All right.
Definitely.
Now the question arises. So this is the reporting. See, everything culminates into the reporting. Whatever efforts an auditor puts, ultimately वो अंत होता है reporting में. Like for example, we discussed that as far as 600 is concerned, the reporting the work of another auditor, we saw that we have to report, but where? Correct? We have to report where? Other matters, right? Internal auditor reporting is only one reporting requirement, and that is as per the CARO. But otherwise, in audit report, you're not supposed to say. Now here, they say that you don't need to give reference of the valuer. Sorry, the expert. So there are two situations. One is an unmodified opinion, and second is a modified opinion. So is the auditor required to make a reference to the expert? Just allow me a minute, please. The answer is no. No reference of the work of the auditor's expert in the unmodified opinion. Now, which word I have used, madam? Sir, which word I have used? Auditor's expert.
Right.
Correct. Now, if it is a management's expert, then it's an evidence. There is no question of any reference at all. Whether it's unmodified or modified, because it's part of your evidence. Right?
True.
SA 500. Such reference, now this is very good statement. Why no reference is required? Because such reference might be misunderstood to be a qualification of the auditor's opinion. Maybe it's not. I mean, he will not say it explicitly that this is the qualification of the auditor, but it may be misperceived, misunderstood to be a qualification of the auditor's opinion or a division of responsibility. Okay, and neither of which is intended. उद्देश्य नहीं था. Okay, that he should be dividing the responsibility. Please, आवाज कम करो. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. He was talking too loud. So the no reference is required of the expert in the auditor's opinion. Reference may be made if required by a law or the regulations to do so. Now, the reference number A paragraph I given reference to paragraph A4. A4 is the application guidance paragraph given in the standard. So please do read this standard of threadbare. Friends, in a span of about this 2 hours time, it is very difficult to apprise you with the entire nitty-gritty of all these standards. Normally, if you give me an opportunity to dwell upon this standard, I would take 3 hours to dwell upon just one standard. Correct? But then we have limitations, and the challenge lies that within the limitation you give the best about that standard and best of me. So pardon me if I may not have gone to a detailed nitty-gritty of a particular standard, but the focus was to give the core, the important, the material aspect of that particular standard. And wherever possible, I have put the remark, asterisk mark, or the highlighted. Now, the reference may be given, may be made if required by the other standard. In such circumstances, the auditor may need permission. Now, here, the standard does not say here that you need to take his permission, but normally advisable to take his permission. Because, sir, if he is a very renowned lawyer, okay, and you not sought his permission, all that he has to do is just file a case against you.
Yeah.
You get my point?
Right.
And India is okay, संभाल लेंगे, कुछ कर लेंगे, समझ लेंगे, but abroad, if you try to do something, you are not allowed to do anything, sir. I just share a small anecdote with you. I was in US for about 1.5 months at San Diego. And there the school bus color is yellow color bus. So I thought, let me take a picture and show it to my grandson here in Mumbai. That look, even in US the bus color is yellow. So that's a standard color, it's an international standard. So with this idea to share the information with my grandson, I took a picture and I started walking from the compound. Someone came running after me. Hey, gentlemen, please. You took a picture? You didn't take my permission. Kindly delete the picture. Then I told that driver, this was the intention. That's fine, but don't do that, please. You seem to be a visitor. I said, yes. Please delete that. Then my son told me, Dad, you are lucky, otherwise you could have sued you.
Okay.
Essay. So the point is, be careful about it. Expected before making such a reference, मैंने लिखा है essay 620 does not mandate but advisable to obtain the permission of the thing. Right, sir? Now this is about unmodified. And when it comes to the modified opinion, if the reference is relevant to an understanding of the modification to the auditor's opinion, the reference can be made. So it is just a choice of the, it can be made. The word is not shall be made. The word is not shall be made. Okay. Can you imagine? There's a power cut in my building just now. And thank God, this laptop is working on a power battery backup. This light is working on the UPS.
Okay.
Bhagwan hamare saath hai. Okay, fine. In both the above cases, now very important. Yeah, resume.
Back.
Thanks. In both above cases, the auditor shall indicate the auditor's report in the report that the reference does not reduce the auditor's responsibility for the audit opinion. ये ब्रह्म वाक्य पहले भी मैंने कहा था, and I'm telling you now also, it does not reduce the responsibility by an iota. You are still responsible. You cannot take this as a pretext to say that, look, I took the opinion from the best of the lawyer firms, and that's why I was very happy, and I just took his statements on as is various basis. You know, please. And that's the end of my presentation, sir. To all my listeners, to all my viewers, thank you very much for your patience. And now open to the questions.
Thank you very much, Yagneshji. Shreya, would you like to take up the questions or shall I?
So as you wish, you can take up first, next time, then I will take up.
Okay, okay. यज्ञेश जी, आपने जो हमें ज्ञान की जो रोशनी दी, उसके लिए मैं कुछ शब्द कह नहीं पाऊंगा आपको, because I really felt that our institute's academic career and academicians are so good that they are bearing and they are taking the torch ahead with the very hard work and और आपको सब्जेक्ट के बारे में पूरी नॉलेज है एंड हम एक वो पढ़ते थे during study days, auditor is a watchful dog. But I think, as you rightly said, ultra vigileness that is required. So now this phrase should be like the awakening lion or the vigilant lion, and it should be replaced with that.
Sir, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका. आपने मुझे गदगद कर दिया, and you humbled me. I mean, I understand there are many experts in this field than me. There are many experts in this area who are much more knowledgeable and expert. But I did my best, sir. And still, sir, thanks for making my day. I really appreciate you. Humbled me. Thank you once again, sir. Please.
No, sir, it's really very nice to hear you. I couldn't hold myself, actually, frankly telling you. That
और आप भी हमारे साथ लाइन पे बने रहे, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया.
जी जी सर, जी
पूरा
सर.
समय व्यस्त किया आपने.
It's my privilege. और अभी कुछ क्वेश्चंस मेरे पास में आए हुए हैं.
जी हाँ, जी हाँ.
तो मैं थोड़ा सा उनको आपको वन बाय वन जरा पढ़ देता हूँ.
जी हाँ.
First question is, can we rely on the report of internal auditor if he has given clean opinion of closing stock as on March 31st? So,
Sir ji, very good question. I had mentioned in my deliberation that you should not blindfoldedly or wholly depend on them. These are only indicators.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I have divided these three standards into two categories. On the one hand, 600, and on the other hand, 610 and 620.
Yeah.
And I told you 610, internal auditor and an expert. You cannot share your responsibility. आप हाथ ऊंचा नहीं कर सकते
जी.
क्योंकि उन्होंने कहा है आप तो आप मान लेंगे नहीं. You apply some analytical procedures. Of course, analytical procedure can be applied in the review only. But अगर आपको लगे तो there are many other things. Because one thing is that auditor is not supposed to take the inventory. External auditor is not supposed to take it. He has to observe the inventory taking.
Right.
There's a difference in that. वो गिनने को नहीं बैठेगा सर. वो गिन रहे हैं उसको देखेगा.
जी जी.
बिल्कुल.
Correct. So आपको ये देखना है कि of course it may be possible. It may not be possible for you to visit all the sites of the company. Correct. But that does not mean that you blindfoldedly rely on the report. You still apply your due diligence and your experience and your reading and understanding about the numbers he shared with you. In a nutshell, you can rely on that, but not 100%. And then you cannot take this as a defense.
Yeah.
Don't treat it as a defense. Don't take it as a defense. That look, he has given me these numbers. मैंने तो ये भी कहा कि you cannot say that he's a company of a great repute.
Yeah.
And he has given me this report, so I'm relying on that. No. आप फिर भी बच नहीं सकते, because ultimately you have to take care of your career, right? So don't rely 100%. This may be taken as some kind of indicator. Okay, then you have to still apply your additional audit procedures.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. The next question is, to what extent an auditor should apply his skepticism in considering the work of another auditor or expert? To what extent an auditor should
when we talk of another auditor,
yeah,
I'm sure you're talking about SC 600.
G.
Correct? The component auditor or other auditor or another auditor.
G.
The fact that you are dividing responsibilities in an explicit and an unequivocal manner in your other matter part of the audit reports, you are telling him very clearly, look, I have not audited this thing. Correct? You're not supposed to report on that. And there are two categories. One, you're not audited, that's fine. But even this, there are two sets. One, not audited by you, but audited by someone else. Second classification, second category, not audited by you, but not even audited by even others also. Right? So let's forget about the other part. But as far as first part is concerned, there is no Sima Rekha. There is no line. There's no bright line as to if there are 10 auditors, component auditor, you select 20% of them, or maybe select 30% of them, or you select 60% of them, or you select वो 10 में से जो top 10 है उसमें से देख लीजिए, right? Top 2 है इसमें देख लीजिए. Not like that. It's purely his call and judgment. Correct? But one thing is that as far as 600 is concerned, you are not responsible for his work. You getting me point, sir? And in 610, 620, that's not the case.
Yeah, you're right, sir. You're right, sir.
Yeah. So there is no requirement under the standard as to it, but it's purely on his judgment and maybe experience. Sometimes people use the word past experience, but I simply say the experience because experience always past ही रहता है.
Yeah. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है सर. वैसे भी एक बात मतलब अगर हम गौर से देखें तो हमारी इंस्टीट्यूट का जो कोर्स करिकुलम है that trains the students in such a manner which inculcates in itself that the ability of mind and that analytical mind it inculcates over a period of time that any auditor is capable of or is considering the facts that how should or how much should he rely upon the statement of another auditor or an expert? उसमें मतलब उसको थोड़ा सा अपने उसका एनालिटिकल माइंड इस बारे में अप्लाई होता है कि उसको वो कहाँ तक रिलाई कर सकता है और कहाँ तक उन पुर्जों को कैसे फिट किया जा सकता है।
अरे वाह, क्या क्या बयान किया आपने, क्या असली प्रवाह में आपने बता दिया सर। हाँ,
we are just practically, we are just assembling the others experts opinion into our this audit report or in our audit experiences that ये कहाँ फिट बैठेगा और इसमें कितनी सच्चाई है। Anybody may, ये I hats off to the education system of our institute and the
no denying about it sir, no denying about it। वर्ल्ड का गिनीज बुक में जिनका जिक्र किया गया है कि दिस इज द टफेस्ट कोर्स। एंड एक बात है सर कि आई एम अ सीए एंड सीपीए बोथ, बट मुझे फक्र है सीए इंस्टीट्यूट का होने के लिए, यू नो, एज अ पार्ट ऑफ द इंडियन सीए, राइट?
Absolutely sir, absolutely जी। Next question is whether SA 600 will apply to type A and type report of service organization auditor, or only SA 402 applies to it?
सर ये आप एक जस्ट मिनट ओके, हाँ, या नाउ टेल मी प्लीज। हाँ
जी सर,
यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द टाइप ए रिपोर्ट एंड टाइप 2 रिपोर्ट, राइट? Type A report say the control in place and type 2 report say control are operating effectively.
जी।
Type A report से कि आप क्लास में आए हैं, अटेंडेंस है आपकी
जी, कितना
आत्मसात किया आपने वो नहीं पता। Am I seeing Dr. Sanjeev Singhal?
जी, he is there.
Welcome sir, chairman sir, and my
यज्ञेश भाई कैसे हैं?
नमस्कार जी सर।
नमस्कार यज्ञेश भाई।
आप आए, बाहर आई।
अरे यज्ञेश भाई, please continue. The ethical standard board meeting was going on, so I did not.
Then I understand you all are living out of suitcase and you are on wings and wheels. I understand difficult for you to spare time.
Please continue.
Fine, please go ahead. So can you repeat the question? I was saying that type A means the person is sitting here. I don't know whether he is comprehending or not. Type B said yes, he is there and he is actively participating, right? So type A said that there are controls on paper. Type B reports say the control are actually operating effectively. Now please go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, sir. Will statutory auditors SA 600 apply to tax auditor relying on other auditors whose issued certificate in Form 10DA / Form 26A / statutory auditors? If not, which SA should tax auditor follow in such cases?
Now, in this case, sir, as far as 600 is concerned, it is applicable only in case of the component accounting.
Okay.
So either branch or any of the components, namely A, subsidiaries, joint ventures, or the associates. It does not talk of any other areas. So if at all he wants to rely on that, then he can go for 620 as an expert. And our chairman, sir, please correct me if I'm mistaken, because when you have a chairman, sir, sitting with you and being a witness, इससे अच्छा सौभाग्य और क्या हो सकता है? But definitely 600 will not be applicable at all. If at all he wants to apply, rely on, it's 620.
Okay. So now, Shreya, you may proceed for the questions, please.
Right, sir. Thank you so much. So before we proceed with further questions, I would like to request our chairman of AASB board, CA, Dr. Sanjeev Singhal ji, to kindly address our participants. Sir, please.
Thank you, Shreya. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Yagnesh bhai, for taking one more wonderful session. As always, Yagnesh Desai ji is our champion speaker. And his style of speaking and his knowledge, I've seen him deliberating since 2010 at least. I've seen when he used to take sessions on IFRS or Ind AS, he will remember them word by word. He could quote para numbers and the sentences as well. So Yagnesh bhai, thank you so much for talking the audit of the service sector. In fact, this is we have already done 150 plus programs in AASB in this council year, and the objective has been, to take up these specialized topics and as well as to develop new speakers. So, if you really see that, we'll always have 2 new moderators in each program now.
That's
So
great.
that more and more members can come forward.
Mm.
And today we have CA Himchand Jainji and CA Shreya Bansal. See, we are promoting diversity as well, because now 30% of our members are women members. So I want the young member, the experienced members, the women members, all to participate in these webinars and these seminars. And these become a very useful medium. The fact goes that that although these are unstructured learning hours, but still in every program, more than 1,000 or more than 1,500 members are attending these programs. Members are immensely benefiting. More than 1 lakh members have already attended the physical plus the virtual programs. And this year, Auditing and Assurance Standard Board has come out with the working paper templates with the auditing standard checklist. We also had an expert panel for answering the bank audit-related queries as well as the statutory audit-related queries. So I'm sure that this, spread of knowledge will continue, and our members will keep participating, and our speakers and moderators will keep enriching these programs, because ultimately the chartered accountants are known for being the auditors. Audit first. If you'll ask anyone, a layman, that who's a chartered accountant, their first impression that goes is audit. Next comes tax. Next comes tax, and not the vice versa. Plus, audit is an area which is unique for the chartered accountants only. So we must excel in this. So Auditing Standard Board, along with the Center for Audit Quality, is doing everything possible for ensuring that the audit quality is the foremost in the minds of our member when they are discharging their test function. So in this endeavor, I'm grateful to all the speakers and all the moderators, and also our audience, our participant, dear esteemed members, for taking out time and attending these programs. Himchand Jainji has a rich practice experience. He's from Delhi, and Shreya Bansal is a young chartered accountant, very actively involved in the branch activities of the Batenda branch in Punjab. So I'm thankful to all three, and of course, Mr. Anil Lal, who is instrumental in organizing these programs on a regular basis without fail. So my compliments to all both the moderators, the speaker, as well as the participants. And with this, back to you, Shreya.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insights. And I, on the behalf of all the members and participants, would like to appreciate and thank you for the efforts the board is making under your chairmanship. So thank you so much, sir. And proceeding further, I have few questions for you, sir, which we have received from the participants. The first one being, using the other auditors, do we require any formalities to be followed? So this question has 4 parts. Can I tell you all the 4 parts, or shall I tell it one by one?
Please read out all 4 parts, and then I'll see answer one by one. Huh?
Fine. So they are asking, using the other auditors, do we require any formalities to be followed? If the services are chargeable, will it attract GST, TDS, and others? If not, whether it will attract for other acts like gift tax, etc.
My God, there's no gift tax at all now. And I don't understand, ये GST आपका पीछा नहीं छोड़ता, आप काफी प्रभावित लगते हैं GST से, ऐसा मुझे लग रहा है, because there is no question of any GST as such when it comes to the component auditors. And as I mentioned to you that as regards the formalities of with the component auditors is concerned, you need to, in fact, as I mentioned, my experience that we have to share certain undertakings with them, our undertaking about our independence of the audit and all this. So you have to definitely interact with them, exchange the documents with the component auditors. But don't forget that you are not appointing the component auditors, right? Component auditors are appointed by, in case of branch, by the company, and in case of the subsidiaries, maybe by company, may not be necessarily by the company, by the principal, by the parent of the group, right? So there is no question of any fees as such and all this. That is not your prerogative. Is the lookout of the management.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, sir.
Right.
So the next question that I have is, does this imply we can choose to ignore qualifications made by the internal auditors basis review of facts by the stat auditors?
You mean to say, let me rephrase my understanding and whether I'm on the same page or not. Internal auditor has given a qualified opinion, right?
Right. Qualifications
Okay.
made by the internal auditors
Correct.
can
That
be
means
ignored by stat auditors.
then is a red flag. Now, let us see one thing. The internal auditor may be assessing one of these segments of the company, which may or may not be material.
Right.
So he has to look at the totality of the company. Okay, that suppose he's doing the work of a branch. Branch turnover is hardly 5% of the total, right? So in the first place, that itself is immaterial, and then again going forward, he has to see whether it is material from the perspective of the company as such or not. If it is a material, and if it is a matter of a great concern, then I think he should think of the qualification, because qualification is a very serious matter. There is no रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में आप आते नहीं होंगे. श्रेया मुझे बताए, अच्छा हेमचंद जी बताए कि इतने सालों में कितने क्वालिफाइड रिपोर्ट देखे आपने सब for the private companies and small companies. Very rare to see, right?
It's almost negligible, but there were certain.
So the point is that whether to, the point is whether to qualify his own opinion from the perspective of the company's accounts. He need to weigh the option, apply his judgment whether it is material in totality or not, material from the perspective of the company or not, and then take the call. But since he's a qualified, he must at least delve deep into the matter. And ho sakta hai, there is more to meet than your eyes. Correct?
Right.
So he should not neglect it. Red flag hai, kuch na kuch to hoga, to hi to bande ne kiya qualified, right?
Right, sir. Right,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah.
So the next question we have is, tax auditor may need to rely on certificates issued by other CAs in Form 10DA, Form 26A, etc. Whether any essay applies for such reliance?
Tax audit not covered by the essays, please.
Right. So the next question I have with me is, as you said, appointment letter for the internal auditor to be obtained and permission to be obtained in writing. Is it not sufficient that management?
Which did you say? Repeat the question once again. Appointment letter?
Appointment letter for the internal auditor to be obtained and permission to be obtained in writing.
Permission
Is it
for
not
what?
So I think to use the work of internal auditor.
No. Please complete the question, but to the best of my knowledge, I think not required. Please go ahead.
Right, sir. I'll repeat the question. As you said, appointment letter for the internal auditor to be obtained and permission to be obtained in writing. Is it not sufficient that management is producing the report in a deemed permission?
I'm wondering, have I said that written permission is required? Appointment, of course, is required, no denying.
Appointment,
because as I told you, that is required as per the Companies Act, right? Provided your client is a company. Okay. Right. And as I told you, MGT 14 is not required, but it is a part through the minutes of the meeting. So appointment letter defining scope of the internal auditor has to be there. But I don't think any written permission is required from the management for the external auditor to rely on the work of the internal auditor.
Right, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering all the questions humbly. I will hand over. Sir, Hemchand, sir, do you have any further questions?
No, thanks. I think there are no more questions. And everything was self-explanatory and very well elaborated by Yagnesh Desai ji. Really, I think...
Thank you, Ji. Thank you so much. Really appreciate
I would like to hand over to Anil Lal, sir. Sir, please, for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, madam. Thank you, ma'am. So thank you so much, sir, for sparing your valuable time. As usual, Every time your presentation is marvelous, as well as full of the information as well as knowledge. Hope our members have gained a lot through your deliberation. It was full of examples as well as the practical case studies. So once again, on behalf of AASB of ICAI, I extend my heartiest thanks to you, sir, for sparing your valuable time, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
sir. And I
Ajay.
also
Thank
extend,
you very
sir,
much. Thank you,
and
Anilji.
I also extend both the moderators, CA Hemchand Jain ji and Madam Shreya
Sir,
Bansal ji,
Thank you
for
so much.
sparing your time as well as moderating today's webinar and giving us precious time for this webinar. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Yagnesh, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Once again,
Yeah,
sir,
yeah,
thanks
yeah.
to Anilji,
Thank you.
thanks to two moderators and all the participants here for
All
taking
the
part.
participants also, sir.
Participants,
And
Yes.
really appreciate the endeavor of the institute to have the knowledge sharing programs like this. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so
Namaste.
much.